Chapter 33. The Final Battle, Avatar vs Sharingan. Coast of Kiri. Battlefield. Naruto? Mei called out questioningly, not sure if it was really her husband standing before everyone. The figure picked up on her voice and turned to face her, fully revealing his new form to her. Naruto's tanned skin, yuzu clothing, nor his blonde locks were showing on him, making it even more difficult to tell who he was. His blue eyes were now only white orbs, and they were the only features showing on his face. The rest of his body was completely encased in shifting, cracking, and heated lava. It was not like a jutsu though, Mei could tell it was completely natural lava straight from a volcano. From his body, bits and pieces of rock and lava would drip down onto the water surface and create hot steam, further proving its lethal properties. It made it seem as if Naruto's entire body was alight with fire, apart from a few spaces of solidified rocky magma. Surprisingly, or perhaps unsurprisingly, the spiky form of his hair had been retained even with lava covering it, at least making his head seem somewhat recognizable. To explain simply, Mei and everyone else that had known Naruto before were speechless by his radical transformation. Madara wasn't pleased, nor did he make it seem as if he was impressed. His glare remained as Naruto continued to eye his wife, and an evil plan came to the man. Wouldn't it be so sad if the Jinchuriki was to lose his wife before he died? Naruto started to reach out an arm towards Mei to reassure her it was still him. Mei felt comforted by it and began to take tentative steps closer to what she thought was her Naruto. Madara took that lapse in concentration to charge forward towards Naruto's wife as the avatar's back was to him, and he hoped to avoid detection. Naruto's outward appearance did not reveal surprise, however, his body began to tense as he felt Madara's body heat come closer to his own. Mei had gotten closer to Naruto when she was able to see Madara coming around his side and quickly prepared to defend herself. The man chuckled as he knew it was too late, his arm was already outstretched to strangle Mei's throat and she didn't have the time to dodge. With speed that even left Madara speechless, Naruto caught the man's outstretched arm just as he passed by. It only took a moment for the Uchiha's brain to register the extreme pain that came from Naruto's touch and reeled away from the group, nursing his burning arm. Damn it, it was like a blur. How could I not detect his movement? Mei turned her attention from the retreating Madara back to Naruto, amazed at his sheer speed. This? Really is Naruto. A smile came to her lips as the protective action done by the avatar confirmed it. Her husband had completed the training and came there to finish the fight, just as he promised her. Mei. I won't be long now. I'll finish this so we can both go home and raise Rashi as a family. Wait for me. His voice came out distorted and raspy, as if his throat had been burned, but Mei heard every word clearly. A tear came to her eye and she relinquished, nodding in affirmation to Naruto. Sanada and the others, including Ao and Chijuro, were touched by the scene even amidst the chaos. Without further warning, Naruto disappeared into a blur and the next thing everyone saw was the rock Madara was standing on shattered to pieces just as the masked man barely jumped away in time. So fast. Ao could barely track the boy with his Byakugan activated, his enhanced speed was astounding. Wow, he has to have the same strength as I do with my chakra fist. Sanada noted, her super strength seemed to have found a rival with Naruto's taijutsu strength. As Naruto lured away Madara with lightning speed taijutsu, Yamara and the other lava monkeys ran over the water to brief Mei and the others. To see the personal summons accompanying her husband was reassuring, and even then Mei felt good to have their support. Their duty was to keep Naruto fighting, no matter what. Mei-sama. You must get the battle away from here, Naruto-sama's new powers are difficult to rein in, and your forces will be caught in the crossfire. He also suggested you evacuate Kiri's population in case the battle moves inland. Mei was surprised by the information supplied to her by the monkey, and she cast a lingering stare on Naruto's disappearing form over the ocean. Is his new form really that destructive? I understand, this battle should be over soon anyway. We will join in and see to it that Kiri's forces are routed, then we will proceed to the village and forcefully evacuate the population if need be. And please. Stay with my husband and keep him safe. Yamara nodded and, along with the other monkeys, began to run towards Naruto's retreating form. That was the plan all along, Mei-sama. Naruto knew you would say something like that. He yelled over his shoulder as he ran off, leaving Mei with some form of comfort. Turning around towards the others, her Kage face back on, Mei began to issue orders. Without any doubt left in her heart, it was Mei's turn to go through with her duties so that Naruto could come home with her. Alright, Chijuro, take command here and finish off these Kiri soldiers. Capture as many as you can take and get the boats out to sea until we have need of them. Ao, you, the Anbu, and the medical teams will be with me as we head straight for the city to evacuate. Chijuro and Ao saluted, allowing the swordsman to head into the battle area and Ao to take his place next to Mei. What's the plan, ma'am? Even if we can evacuate the civilians in the village, what about the other inhabitants around the isle? Mei began to take off running towards the docks and Ao struggled to follow, sending out a special whistle to the surrounding area. Over 24 masked shinobi quickly took up positions behind Ao and Mei as they ran across the water, leading their entourage to be complete. Mei looked over her shoulder at Ao and smirked, making him confused. Come on Ao, do you think the people are really that foolish? When Madara began with these defenses, the people were evacuated to the village under the impending invasion scenario clause. I wrote it, as my predecessor did not have any such plan should an invasion fall on Kiri. As for the capital, it should be safe from any blast radius. Ao was surprised by her answer but then smiled, knowing he had to trust Mei's leadership abilities to the highest degree. Yes ma'am, sounds like a plan. Kiri's Sea. Naruto's battleground. Damn it, back you little bastard. Madara avoided another punch from Naruto and felt himself growing farther from the conflict zone. He's doing it on purpose. He's trying to make me get away from the battlefield. Madara catapulted back and prepared for a counterattack when he felt something hot sting his backside. He looked to find his Akatsuki robe had caught fire and he was forced to drop it to the ground as it disintegrated. Glaring at the thing in front of him, Madara bent his knees and positioned his arms over one another. With a puff of smoke, Madara then had bracers on either wrist with strength-enhanced chains attached. Naruto eyed the man curiously, waiting for his next move. It wasn't long before Madara charged at him full force with the chains in an attempt to subdue him. Naruto allowed the chains to wrap around his body and felt the Uchiha close to his ear behind his back. The man was holding his wrists to his chest in an X shape, attempting to grapple Naruto's body into a tight hold. You may have delayed my plans for a time, Jinchuriki, but you haven't changed them. I will still have my world domination, only this time your family won't live to see the end of it. That was enough for Naruto and Madara watched helplessly as his tough chains were melted through instantly. With a sudden twist of his body, Naruto almost landed a blow on the man's revealed body, but he was able to become transparent before then. Sensing new presences, Madara turned to view 6 lava monkeys come into view and begin to go through hand signs. A summoning jutsu? He asked himself in confusion when he finished reading the hand signs, only to pale when he saw what they had summoned. Straight from the bowels of the earth itself, lava began to cover the battlefield and instantly heat up the water, creating a very thick steam. Madara attempted to see through the mist but found himself just as blinded with his normal eye as he was his Sharingan. Naruto stepped onto the lethal magma effortlessly and, without hand signs, began to control it with just simple movements of his arms. Madara felt an incoming danger and twisted right, barely dodging a lava bullet. He could sense no chakra inside any of the attacks, meaning they were manipulated by something else, something more primal. Yamara smirked as Naruto made use of the lava and showed off one of the more major abilities of his avatar form. By mixing geothermic heat and his own chakra within his body effortlessly, Naruto gained the ability to manipulate natural lava without the use of his own energy. While this would not be advantageous anywhere but a volcano, with us, he could summon as much lava as he needed. It will be difficult for the Sharingan to detect incoming attacks if they are not using chakra. To his surprise, Madara looked beneath him and found the lava crawling up his body and quickly sought to escape the trap. It was too late though, his transparency couldn't go through the natural elements so easily, just like the wood element, and the man was entirely covered in the deadly substance. Naruto eyed the spot where Madara occupied warily, he didn't believe for a second that the man would die so easily. He made the lava recede after a few tense moments, knowing that anything beneath it would be dead by then. As he expected, it was not Madara beneath the lava, but a clone of Zetsu. Sensing 2 presences coming at him from either side, Naruto threw his arms out to either side of him, and lava spikes impaled both enemies. The steam dissipated to reveal a shocked Zetsu and an even more surprised Kasama, both hanging off of his lava attack. Both were bleeding from their mouths, and one could see their bodies beginning to dissolve from the lethal attack that had pierced either. Why? Can't Samahata absorb you? Kasama rasped out, barely able to breathe as his lungs began to melt. Naruto turned towards him and relinquished his hold on Zetsu's spike, allowing the man's dying body to dissolve faster as it hit the lava bed. I am pure geothermic energy. It will take much more than that to reach my chakra and physical body. Your chakra-leeching sword can't touch me. Not even able to curse Naruto with his last breath, Kusama felt the lava close around him as Naruto held up an open fist towards him. Just as Gaara would use his sand as a coffin, Naruto repeated the process, but with the Uzumaki blend, lava. Closing his fist, he concentrated the lava and destroyed the criminal's body in one swoop. Now that I have taken care of them, that only leaves their boss. Naruto brought his hands together and began to reach out to find Madara's unique body temperature signal. His white orbs widened in surprise when he found the man was nearing Kirigakure, no doubt trying to stop Mei. With a great burst of speed that surprised his monkey retainers, Naruto launched himself forward across the water, crossing the distance between the sea and shore in mere moments. From a bystander's view, it only looked as if the water was parting for some unseen force of nature. Kiri's sea. Boats. Chijuro finished checking the last boat to make sure every shinobi save for Mei's forces were on board, dead or alive. They had finished securing the Kiri prisoners, having quite a lot of them after the army became demoralized with Madara gone. With little else to do, the swordsman got out of the ship's bowels and stood upon the deck, watching the shoreline for movement. Please Mei-sama. Naruto-sama. Please win. Kirigakure. The evacuation was well underway. The Anbu teams were all well versed with Kiri's layout as most, if not all, had lived there before their lives in Yuzu began. Mei was with two Anbu and Ao, using his Byakugan to search homes they might have missed. Come on. We have to be sure we get everyone. Ao thought to himself, pushing his mind even harder to focus on searching. Sighting a small child on the street, Mei leaped down from the rooftops and quickly bent down to pick the girl up. She wiped a bit of dirt that had fallen on the child's face. It made the girl smile with her small teeth just coming in through the gums. Well, hello little one, where are your parents? The girl shook her head, not knowing what happened to them in the chaos of the invasion. Ao and the Anbu leaped down to assist her in getting the child out of the street. With Ao's enhanced senses, he could see something approaching them from the north and attempted to warn Mei. Ma'am. Give the child to the Anbu, we've got trouble. Mei looked at the man confusedly but then saw someone running towards their group down at the end of the road. She quickly handed the child off to the Anbu and prepared herself. Ao took up a position next to her as the Anbu quickly fled with the child to safety under the Uzakage's wife's orders. Madara had lost his two most loyal henchmen with one fell swoop, and he was tired of buying time. He had to take action, and what better way to kill the boy's spirit than by killing his wife? It's over for you, girl. Just like I should have done during the massacres. Mei rushed forward to meet the man's charge, contrary to Ao's warning. The man cursed and tried to go after her, but even he couldn't keep up with the woman in speed. Damn it. What the hell is she thinking? It's over. Madara's forearm hit against Mei's as the two fighters impacted, vying over the other's strength. As the man slowly began to push her back, his other arm summoned a kunai and sent it straight for her gut. Mei saw his action and moved to dodge only to feel her wrists tied up with the man's chains, keeping her from moving so easily. She scowled as the knife came closer and prepared to take the hit. Naruto impacted Madara from his flank with such force that it sent the man through two buildings and two streets over. Without even stopping to say anything, Naruto continued to his pursuit of the man who had tried to not only harm him, but now his wife a second time. Mei just kept looking at the destruction Naruto's punch had made, unable to bring words to it. She was awoken when Ao gripped her arm and shook her lightly, forcing her out of the daydream. Ma'am, we should go. The last of our forces are evacuating those gathered at the gate, and it wouldn't do well for us to disobey Naruto's wishes. Mei nodded reluctantly. She truly wished to stay and help Naruto, but even now, she could not bring herself to go against his judgment. Right, let's get moving. The two departed Kirigakure with Mei being the only one to look back, forcing out a cringe in helplessness. She is really concerned about him. I should say something. Don't worry, Mei-sama. Naruto will be fine. He's a lot stronger than anyone I know, and he doesn't go back on his word. He promised to come back, so that means he will. Mei was surprised by Ao's response, but nodded nonetheless, allowing a smile to grace her features. Yes. You're right, Ao. Naruto wouldn't want to see me cry over something like this. I just have to believe in him. We all need to believe in him. Kirigakure. Roof of Mizakage's office. Madara fell out of the portal again with little finesse. That was the second time an enemy had forced him into using his jutsu unprepared. Naruto's punch had not only broken the orange mask that now lay broken and discarded on the ground, but it had burned much of his face. To say Madara was angry was an understatement, he was livid. How dare that brat lay a hand on me? I still couldn't sense him thanks to his lava encasement, it's as if it is keeping any chakra from seeping out for my Sharingan to see. With little time to spare, Madara jumped away from the spot on the ground he had occupied when it was broken through from the inside of the building. Naruto burst out of the concrete roof and began to walk towards Madara, a no-nonsense feeling could be felt from him. Madara could tell the subtle change since he had tried to attack his wife the last time, obviously he was a protective husband. Now listen, I know you're ang. Madara was cut off when Naruto attempted to punch him in the gut only for Naruto to sail through him. As soon as he passed through, Naruto was able to touch Madara's back and the man quickly ripped off the shirt's cloth that was on fire. It's about time we finish this, old man. Madara flinched at the insult and held himself steady, ready to face off against Naruto, avatar form or not. I'll prove you wrong, Hashirama. There is no way this kid can kill me. To prove his point, Madara charged forward and dodged Naruto's defense, a low aiming punch to Madara's gut. He was able to land a hit on the boy with a chakra-encased fist, sending the Uzumaki sailing backwards. As he watched Naruto slide on the roof to recover from the hit, it was then that he was made to frown in disappointment when Naruto's face looked back at him. The cheek where he had hit was sizzling and red-hot with active lava, it then cooled to a dark brown as the armor reformed, and Naruto shrugged off his hit. What does it take to kill this Kage? You are truly befitting of your rank of Kage, you know that? You are almost as much of a thorn in my side as Hashirama was in our day. You should take that as a compliment, I haven't said it to very many. Naruto made no move of recognition and instead brought up his arms for an attack, making Madara cringe as the fight began again in earnest. Two geysers of lava were sent launching from his palms, forcing Madara to evade by sidestepping. To his surprise, the large shots followed after him and forced him to run to the other side of the building. When he arrived at the edge, Madara turned and leaped forward, twisting his body so that he would fit between the two geysers as they launched past. What he hadn't counted on was Naruto being able to move during his attack, and he soon felt the sickening crunch of his ribcage shattering from the knee that had lodged itself in his chest. Madara saw the boy bring his hands together into a fist and knew he was going to try and slam him into the ground, so he went transparent. Both fell to the ground, although one did so much more gracefully than the other. Madara landed in a heap, creating a small crater as his body fully impacted the ground. As his body had gone into shock, when the knee had shattered his chest, the man was now free to scream in pain as the wounds Hashirama inflicted now reopened in earnest. Damn. If I had been in my prime, he wouldn't have landed the first punch. I can barely see. This is bad. Madara brought himself to look at Naruto and was shocked to see the boy was no longer encased in lava. Now he was back in his old clothing and breathing heavily from exertion. It seemed the avatar form put a lot of stress on the boy's body as he was on all fours trying to catch his breath. Blue orbs met red ones as the two combatants looked into each other's eyes as if reading their conditions. You are going to die. Very soon. Naruto forced his voice to speak, although it sounded as if he was still in avatar form. His entire body was working in overtime to recover from the use of the avatar. Madara chuckled, although the blood that escaped from his mouth seemed contrary to his upbeat attitude. With his one Sharingan eye revealed, the man put the last of his energy into preparing one last move. Come on boy, don't you want to ask me some questions? I'm sure you are curious of something I did to try and ruin your life. If I'm going to die then ask away. Naruto snorted despite himself, there was little he had to say to the man. I have nothing to ask. Other than you dying quicker than you are now. Madara said nothing, only allowing more blood to leak from his mouth. Come on. Don't you want to know how I pulled off manipulating Danzo and that old friend of yours? Sasuke? Naruto's eyes widened and he looked at Madara with renewed interest, eliciting a bloody smile from the man. Oh yes, that's right. We both know just how much Danzo loved that village. He would never betray it. He entered Akatsuki with one goal in mind, destroy it from within. I easily found out about his plan. And the first chance I got. Madara paused again in his speech, attempting to suck in some air. I cast a genjutsu on him. One that even his Sharingan couldn't see through. I manipulated him from his defection until his death. And he didn't even know. Naruto's fists tightened as he stared at the man, not believing his haughtiness. What about Sasuke? Madara smiled at the question and continued. Well, Sasuke was much easier. He was with me up until the point we transferred his brother's eyes into his. At that point, he tried to kill me. Said he was the only one that should rightfully hold the Uchiha name. It was then that I subdued him and controlled him with my Sharingan. Neither of them broke free of it until the last moments of their lives. Mother. Itachi. I'm sorry. Sanada noticed something off about Danzo's normal eye and took a closer look as the room began to clear. That's strange, I thought for sure I saw a. Sanada-sama, we have to go. Sanada reluctantly left, allowing Danzo's body to fall over limp and the Sharingan to disappear from his eye. Madara had relinquished control. So. It's all been you. From the very start. Naruto said rhetorically. Every villain, every obstacle, everything was traced back to Madara. Yes. I have been your only enemy since the beginning. And it seems like I will be your last one as well. Naruto's eyes widened in surprise when Madara's Sharingan changed shape, taking on the form of his eternal Mangekyo. What are you doing? Naruto felt a great suction begin to pull him towards Madara's eye, and the man began to cackle unmercifully. If I can't kill you with this body, I will allow you to die in the void. You and the rest of the pitiful shinobi that came to this island will die. Your son will be left an orphan, and you will never see your wife again. To be alone and accursed, that is your destiny, Jinchuuriki. Naruto's eyes widened as he saw the buildings surrounding them begin to fall apart and fall into the endless vortex of Madara's eye. He's insane. He'll kill himself just to take me with him. Feeling the suction grow stronger, Naruto punched a hole in the concrete and held on for dear life. Madara's laughing was covered up by the great sounds of wind whipping back and forth and crumbling foundations of concrete shatter as the entire city began to fall under the influence of the vortex. Naruto reared a hand back and untied his headband, slowly placing it in the hole he had created. With little time left, he reached into his holster and took out a kunai, slamming it into the ground and holding the headband securely. Knowing the last thing he had to do, Naruto took a moment of peace to find calm inside of himself, remembering those that had come before him and those that were with him now. I'm going to become the greatest Hokage. Naruto smiled at his memory of living in Konoha. The wish to become acknowledged was a craving. With his life in Yuzu, no matter how short, he had accomplished it. Never give up, that's your ninja way. His thoughts drifted to Jiraiya, his mentor for a time. If nothing else remained with him, those words would ring true with everything he had done. You've gotten stronger. Stronger than me, I think. And in more ways than one. Kakashi's words of praise rang into his ears, and he realized that many people thought that way about him, and he wondered if it was really true. The will of fire burns strong. In all of you. The third flashed into his mind, reminding him that the reason why he continued to fight, the reason he was able to convince Nagato, the reason he was still alive was because of his hope for peace and for the future of humanity. Make us proud, son. I know you can do it. Dad. I promised I would. And I don't go back on my word. Make sure to find yourself a nice little Uzumaki girl, alright Naruto? I did, Mom. I only wish I could have introduced you to her. I love you, Naruto. I believe in you. Come back to me. The final words brought tears to his eyes as his thoughts drifted to Mei and little Rashi. It seemed there was one promise he wasn't strong enough to keep. Looking up, Naruto's eyes widened when he saw Mei standing there, unaffected by Madara or the crumbling city, and she was holding Rashi with a big smile. She didn't seem to notice him, she only kept smiling at the playful Rashi who was giggling like a maniac as her fingers danced in front of his eyes. His eyes locked with hers for a moment, and it seemed as though her smile intensified before she began to fade away. A sad smile came to his lips, and he tasted his salty tears. It seemed fate loved to play a cruel joke, no matter who it was on. Whether it's a mirage or not. Mei. Please give me your strength. One last time. Relinquishing his hold on the handhold, Naruto felt the suction intensify and begin to pull him backwards. With a few hand signs, Naruto yelled out his final jutsu in desperation, hoping it would work. Lava release. Great magma dome. A city-wide dome began to stretch high up into the sky to contain the jutsu that Madara had threatened to use on the fleet of ships at sea. With the last of his strength, Naruto fought to maintain the jutsu for as long as he could, absorbing multiple blows of oncoming debris and branches that impacted him. Feeling a sharp pain impale him, Naruto looked down to see his stomach impaled clean through He glanced behind to see Madara stabbing into him with a metal pole. "You bastard. Why do you keep trying? Why don't you just die? You damn Uzumaki." Naruto spit out some blood and began to gather chakra into his hand, forming a perfect Rasengan in seconds. Because Uzumaki. Never give up. Naruto let the suction pull him towards Madara and sent his Rasengan right into the man's gut. As the final blow to the man, he sped his jutsu up with every ounce of energy he had. The black hole he had formed had almost taken the entire city, leaving a barren crater of dirt and concrete. Naruto and Madara were sucked in last, leaving the barren wasteland void of everything. But a hero's final farewell. With the ground rooted up, Naruto's kunai was clearly impaled into the tough ground still. His headband lay still on the ground without a master to wear it. The war was over. But the hero was gone. Kirigakure. 30 minutes later. Aftermath of Madara's final jutsu. Mei-sama, wait. Mei shrugged off Ao's hold on her sleeve and kept running through the broken and uprooted foliage to find her husband. Everyone had been on the boats when they saw the large storm get created over Kiri. The winds were strong enough to create large waves on the sea. When Mei saw the lava dome encase the city, it was then she knew something was very wrong and immediately departed despite the warnings given by the others. She had to know what happened, she had to see for herself. There. Mei reached the outskirts of the lava dome and, keeping her speed high, slammed her fist into the dome, shattering a small piece of it. Naruto made this one strong. Madara's attack must have been bad. Mei used the small opening to enter and found herself looking at a large crater of where Kirigakure had been. There was little left, a few pieces of concrete, some roughed up dirt, and a few trees that were split up or broken in a dozen places. There was no body. No Naruto. Mei walked along the broken shell of the city, looking around for anything that could be helpful. A glint of silver made her head swivel and a smile reach her lips, Naruto's headband. She ran over to where it was glistening in the dirt. Ao frowned as his Byakugan told him the ugly truth of the matter, no one but them was there. Mei's smile quickly faltered when she saw the Yuzu's red cloth tethered, not to a blonde head but a kunai. With nothing else left for her, Mei dropped to her knees in anguish and began to sob. Ao kept his distance, giving her the time that only her man should have been with her. He looked at the headband and he too lost it, tears fell from his eyes as a scowl crept onto his lips. God damn it. His fist went slamming into a concrete block next to him, completely shattering it into smaller pieces. He rested his head against what was left of it, slowly beating his fist into the concrete with less and less vigor. Mei took another look at the headband and knew that her husband was gone, but he had left a memento behind for her. Taking caution to not dislodge kunai from the ground, she pulled the headband from it with little damage coming to the cloth or the kunai's position. She held it in her arms, close to her breasts, a last memento to her of who he was and what he had done for her in the world. Heat hit her head and Mei looked up to see the sunlight beaming down from the very center of the dome head as the lava began to fall away to the earth. Mei found it very iconic, the last spot her husband had occupied, the sun was illuminating. Maybe it was Kami, even she was giving her condolences to the fallen hero. Naruto. Your headband. Will be Rashi's one day. I will. Never forget this sacrifice. And I will never stop loving you. She felt a presence to her left and found Ao looking at the kunai lodged into the ground. A questioning gaze was sent her way and Mei allowed a sad smile to come to her tearful visage. It will be his memorial here, that kunai will serve as a reminder of the greatest sacrifice known to humankind done by one of its outcasts. Naruto saved the world. And this time. Everyone will acknowledge him. Let's go Ao. Mei began to walk away, taking all of her power, not to turn around or else she would only break down again. Ao turned to walk with her, but something made him take one last look at the kunai. It was the three-pronged one, the one Naruto said had made his father famous. The boy had used it many times during his stay in Kirigakure, but for some reason, it seemed as if he had been saving them since he began to live in Yuzu. Feeling it was a fitting memorial for him, Ao turned around and began to follow Mei out, allowing his thoughts to drift to the Shodai. You were one of the greatest pains in the ass I have ever had, Naruto. You showed me up when you were a hunter in Kiri, then you go and worry me when you went out to get revenge for Root's attack. Then I let you lead me around as the Shodai Uzukage. And I never said the one thing you probably deserved the most. You were one of the greatest men I have ever known. And I'm glad I got to meet you. 3 days after the final battle. Konohagakure. Memorial Stone. And to this stone I commemorate the name of our comrade that has fallen in battle for sacrificing his life to save not only Konoha but our own. For if it were not for him, we would not be here today. Please join me in one final moment of silence for this village's greatest product. The most hyperactive knucklehead ninja. My greatest student. Naruto Uzumaki. Kakashi announced to the hundreds of shinobi gathered before the memorial stone as Kakashi finished carving Naruto's name by kunai. Sanada tearfully stepped forward and laid her necklace down next to the stone, a final reminder to the greatest hero of Konoha and the true owner of the necklace of the first Hokage. Kumagakure. Rikage's home. Roof. We all know of his sacrifice. And how it would be impossible for a lesser man to do so in such a line of duty. May we remember this. And work to make sure no one must do the same. Spoke to his gathered shinobi, including Killer Bee and Yugito, of the man that was the greatest friend that anyone could know. Sunagakur. Sandgrave's site. For that is our charge. As Kage. And as Jinchuriki, to sacrifice ourselves. To protect those we love. And to not be forgotten as easily as the sand dunes disappear. Goodbye Naruto Uzumaki. My brother. Gaara whispered to himself as he knelt down in the dunes of Sunagakur and picked up a little bit of sand that was near Naruto's honorary grave within Suna's greatest burial hall, reserved for the greatest heroes of the Suna people. May you find the peace that you found here in life, my friend. Uzumaki. Mountain of Fire. Shodai Memorial. And so we leave our great Shodai's burial with a few words from some of Naruto's greatest friends and comrades. Please, come on up. The civilian priest allowed the three waiting shinobi to come up to the forefront of those gathered. As it was being held at the lip of a volcano, only a select audience was allowed, however, the pilgrimage to visit his memorial would be free to anyone. Chijuro went up first, his embarrassed blush was gone, and he walked on stage confidently. It was Naruto's death that woke the boy up, and Mei noticed that it gave him more confidence. Yet a much more realistic view on the world around him. My name is Chijuro. And I was Naruto's teacher when he came to Kirigakure. I taught him many things. How to hold a blade. To use his chakra right. But the one thing he taught me that I haven't seemed to learn up until now was that you can say you will try hard. But that doesn't mean anything. True strength comes from the determination of accomplishing something, not just whispering words of encouragement to yourself. And I would like to thank Naruto for telling me that. Because I think that he has made me stronger because of that. Stronger than I could ever have made him. Applause was rampant as Chijuro bowed and stepped down from his place, allowing Ao to take his spot. When I first met Naruto, I won't lie, I thought he was a pain in the ass. A collective chuckle came from the crowd as Ao smiled at his memories of the boy. But I soon realized that there was something else to him. Through all that hero and youth crap, I knew he was destined to do something great one day. I had hoped that it wouldn't come so soon. And that the loss wouldn't be so. Ao's head dipped down, and he almost couldn't say the word. Extreme. But I would still like to thank Naruto for his sacrifice. And for the attitude and life he has bestowed upon all of us. Thank you, Naruto. Applause was quick and quieted as Mei, the deceased's wife, took the stand. It surprised everyone when a smile came to her lips as she began to speak, contrary to the attitude everyone thought she would be in. Naruto was at first an enigma to me. He seemed so set on bringing back the Uzumaki when he came to Kiri, and yet it seemed as if he wouldn't have near the power to do so. I humored him at first, training him in all I knew and hoping that I was wrong. And it turned out I was. Naruto surpassed all my expectations. And all my walls and barriers until he held the key to my heart. She held her hand close to her chest to accentuate her point. It was then that I realized Naruto's true power came from those that believed in him, loved him, cherished him. He told me once something his sensei had told him, wherever someone thinks of you, that is where home is. And I now realize we are not the only ones mourning his death, it's because Naruto had a home in every country, every person, and every heart. And I still will love and cherish him, even after his sacrifice, because if I may still give him strength where he is, then maybe I can see him again someday. Thank you all for coming here. I know Naruto appreciates it. I do appreciate it. Mei began to step down from her place when a voice she thought not she would never hear began to speak. Her head swiveled to an opening in the crowd where they were gasping in awe. There he was, Naruto Uzumaki, bloodied and cut up, but standing tall and alive. He was holding his stomach in obvious pain, but no one could tell with the big smile on his face. Mei brought a hand to her mouth as tears began to fall from her eyes, not believing what she was seeing. Naruto chuckled a bit and limped forward, now standing right before his wife's slender figure. He brought a hand to her cheek and thought she felt a bit cold and looked very pale. A concerned frown came to him as he realized his absence had done this to her, and he looked down in shame. "I'm sorry, Mei. It took more chakra than I thought to get back. It took me all this time just to get here. It's my fault I made you worry. I'm so." A sudden kiss quieted him down completely. Mei had heard plenty enough from him. As soon as he uttered the first word, she hadn't cared whether he was an apparition or alive, her love had reached him after all. It had given him the strength to come back. "Naruto." Mei held him close, allowing herself to sink into his chest and spill her tears of happiness once again. Naruto sucked up the pain to smile and bring his arms around his wife. Everyone else finally awoke from their stupor and crowded around him, clapping him on the back, hugging him, kissing him, even ruffling his hair. Ao and Chijuro were shouting and smiling as loud as the others, their Uzumaki was home. Naruto didn't know who to keep his eyes on and just looked up into the sky, feeling the sunlight arrive and shine on his face, allowing his bright smile to reach the heavens. Home. This is where I belong. End of chapter 33. Chapter 34. Epilogue. The moments of family share. Yuzu Island. 4 years after Kiri's destruction. Uzumaki Estate. Naruto stood on his balcony, overlooking the entire Uzumaki estate within the great village of Uzumaki. It had been 4 long years since the destruction of Kirigakura and the defeat of Madara Uchiha, ushering the world into peace. He knew it would be a difficult road to maintain that peace for his children and theirs, but with an Uzumaki determination, he wasn't about to give up so easily. Today was a special day. To mark the eve of that final battle, all of the great nations gathered together and celebrated the victory. Yes, that was right, Uzumaki was finally accepted as the 6th elemental nation, and Naruto finally was acknowledged as a true Kage. It made the young man happy, but it also reminded him of the responsibility on his shoulders. Naruto was soon to be turning 22, a feat that many thought he wouldn't live to see in his dangerous life. His loving wife, Mei, just had her 34th birthday a few months ago, and it was a great time for everyone. Hearing a call from downstairs, Naruto went over to his door and called back. What was that, Mei? He pressed his ear to the door, trying to listen in and not zone out. Come on down, the party is going to start soon. I've already got Rashi and the kids ready to go. Mei's exasperated sigh came from downstairs as she pushed herself to get everyone ready. Yeah, daddy, let's go. Naruto smiled as Rashi called out to him. His little boy had already reached the tender age of 4 and was speaking very well. I wonder how long before Yash and Yasuo will be as energetic as him. Yes, Naruto and Mei had 2 more children, twins around 8 months after the battle. It turned out Naruto's final farewell with Mei was more fruitful than anyone could have thought, and he soon felt the joys of being the father of multiple children. Yes, it was hard, but with a loving wife and a great place to call home, there was little for him to complain over. With a deep breath, Naruto left his room and headed downstairs to join his family. Since we are heading to the beach, I hope everyone brought their trunks. The first one he saw was Rashi, the little one now came up to his thighs and was wearing a small white t-shirt with orange trunks and blue sandals. It matched his father, except Naruto was wearing a black shirt with black sandals and red trunks. He smiled as his son came charging towards him and knew he had to defend himself. Rashi's attack was too quick, though, and he went down for the count on the wooden floor. His son kept beating his stomach lightly with his fists, both laughing hard enough to shake the house. Having had enough of it, Naruto launched his counter-attack and tickled Rashi's sides, plenty enough for him to be the one on the floor this time. Did you really think you could beat me, huh? Naruto joked with his son, who couldn't stop to retort, he just kept laughing. Clacks on a tile flooring meant that Mei was coming out, and Naruto looked up to see his beautiful wife come out of the kitchen. She was smiling at them as Naruto wrestled his son off of the ground and held him up like he was a trophy. Sorry about that, honey, just had to catch me, this little monster. Rashi giggled and tried to break Naruto's hold, but the blonde dad wouldn't budge. Mei giggled and walked forward, laying a kiss on both of their cheeks. You're both monsters, if you ask me, but I love you more than anything. Now come on, I've got the twins all ready to go, from what I hear the others have already started. Naruto nodded and watched as his wife walked into the other room in a blue robe. Underneath was no doubt her new bikini, a black and red combo piece. Well, you heard Arashi, let's get going. Naruto sat his son down and watched him run to the door, jumping up and down impatiently for his father to open it. Come on, daddy. Let's leave mommy in the dust. Naruto chuckled and walked forward, peeking into the kitchen's opening to see Mei walking with the twins holding either of her hands for themselves. Little Yash was sporting a cute one-piece swimsuit for herself, pink sakura blossoms decorated its red color. Her blonde hair was let down freely, reaching a little past her shoulder blades, her big green eyes locked onto her father, and she quickly rushed forward and tackled him, making Naruto huff in playful exasperation. Geez, Yash. You are getting too strong for me to handle. If you keep that up, I'll be done for. Naruto warned her as he took her hand in his own and watched as Mei neared the door with Yasuo, Yash's twin. He almost looked like a perfect clone of Naruto, just as Rashi did for Mei. The only difference was his little green eyes that seemed to sparkle everywhere he looked. Yash was surprisingly the more energetic of the two, always running around. It seemed Yasuo would be Naruto's opposite in his youth. He was very quiet and often thought about things longer than a 3-year-old should have to. Daddy, you're the big Uzumaki. I can't hurt you, silly. Naruto chuckled as his daughter caught his joke and moved to the door to stand with Mei, observing his youngest son. Hey there, Yasuo, ready to go see Grandma Tsunade? She promised to get me a big bowl of Ichiraku ramen, wanna share? His son's green eyes lit up quicker than anyone expected, and a rare smile crossed his lips, bringing one to his parents too. Naruto locked eyes with Mei and knew everything was perfectly fine. He had his wife and his 3 bundles of joy, there was nothing else he could want. Mei felt the same, her smile punctuated her point as the two brought their faces closer and kissed again. Yash and Yasuo were soon left without a hand to hold as their parents brought their arms around each other and got a little too caught up with one another. Rashi took their hands and stood by the door, a big smile on his face. Yash was pouting about the loss of attention, and Yasuo had his big eyes following his father, trying to learn what he was doing. Feeling a tug on his shirt, Rashi looked down at Yasuo to see him point at their parents. What are mommy and daddy doing, Rashi? The older brother smiled and, feeling a little mischievous, had a big smirk on his face very soon. That's what Grandpa Jiraiya calls laying the moves on a woman. Daddy does it all the time to mommy, then they kiss. He pretended to close in a kiss for Yasuo, and the laughing little boy slapped him away. What Rashi didn't notice until it was too late was the killer intent coming from his parents who had heard every word. Oh, Rashi-chan. He heard his mother call out in her too sweet tone, forcing him to slowly turn his head towards his parents. What did Grandpa Jiraiya say again? His father asked, and Rashi knew that the white-haired man was going to be in trouble when they arrived at the beach. Oh. I think this what Grandpa would call it when I blew it. I gotta go warn him. It wasn't anything, mommy, daddy, I swear. Just before Naruto could grab him, the blue-eyed boy disappeared and a little log fell on Naruto's foot. Damn, why did I teach him the substitution so soon? Why that little mischievous munchkin? Naruto grunted out as he picked the log up and opened the front door, knowing his son was probably already halfway to the beach. I'll get the twins there, just save Jiraiya for me. I'll teach him to corrupt our little one's values so soon. She held up a fist to show her point and Naruto sweat dropped, his wife would never change. Uzumaki women. They are crazy. Alright, I'm off. I gotta go catch him before he steals all the ramen for himself. Mei giggled as Naruto disappeared in a yellow flash, leaving her to bring the 2 blonde twins to the beach herself. Let's go, mommy. I wanna see Aunt Yogito again, she said she would teach me to tie up my hair. Yash was already at the gate to leave the home, making Mei wonder if she would have her father's natural speed. Alright, honey, let's go. Come on, Yasuo. Yasuo? Mei turned to look inside the house to not find him, only to hear Yash giggle at the gate. You didn't see him, mommy? He already took off after daddy, he didn't want him to get all the ramen to himself. Mei brought a hand to her forehead and sighed, their family was crazy. A smile came to her, though, as she saw her giggling daughter and hurried on to get to the beach. This is just the way it should be. A couple of crazies. We are Uzumaki after all. End of chapter 34 and end of fanfic. Note from author. I dedicate this story to my love for Naru x Mei and all of the other supporters out there who have read this from the beginning and left your heartwarming reviews. Thank you very much. Keep up the good work, and let's hope that at the end of every story, Naruto has a redhead romance. Signed. G3er Man.